Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to TrendSpider Live. My name is Mike, and today we're joined with Rich from TradingWarz. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's great to have you on. But yeah, we're going to be basically covering AMD earnings today. Rich is going to cover a trade or two that he made in AMD, show us how he used his Fibonacci indicator or just the Fibonacci levels in general to go ahead and do that. But if we pull up AMD on the 5-minute, let's just take a look at what it's done intraday so far. And also, we do have Rich just published his new Auto Fibonacci Indicators on the TrendSpider platform. So if you guys want to try them out, there is a link in the description below. But I'll just go ahead and add them here. It's a pretty cool indicator. I don't know, Rich, if you want to go over real quick, but it's essentially just intraday Fibonacci's that are automatically drawn for you, which is very cool. But
yeah. So where we are right now, you see that 618 Fibonacci. So basically, I call this the golden zone. So from the 50% retracement to the 786, that area is a value area, right? So the way that I trade is I never buy at highs, because a lot of times you get burnt, right?
Yeah.
You buy calls at the highs, market turns around, you get crushed. So right here, I use those value areas to take trades, day trades. I sell puts, I do leaps. So I do a bunch of different things with those levels. And it's funny because it's the same principles on the 5-minute chart as if you go to the monthly chart and the weekly chart. It's just fractal in nature. That's why I love fibs, because it's just about getting a deal, getting a discount. And that's the way that I trade, because if you catch one of these trades, like a good fib trade, there's days where I've made like 5 to 10x in one trade, and that will basically pay for my month. So that's the way that I always think about fibs, is just get a good deal. If I get one good winner, I'm good to go.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So basically, you're looking to buy anywhere under the 50%, essentially, right? And above what if it goes below the 78.6? Is that kind of like a no-go?
So one of the things that I do is it depends on the stock. So SPY, I love using the 786. AMD is another 786 preferred, but I have data behind all the stocks and the fibs that they like to use, because my view is that it's pretty much all algorithm driven, and there's like robots that literally have mathematical ratios that they use to trade. And I actually spoke to a few high frequency traders, and that's pretty much what they do. They're trying to just, even in a fraction of a second, you see if you touch that 618 and you pop up 50 cents or something like that. And with a high frequency model, high frequency robot, you can actually make a lot of money in those few seconds, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, makes sense. And you can see it's clearly reacting to that level today, which is very cool to see for sure. And Rich was just a second ago telling me about kind of a longer term trade he took. Since we have some time until AMD reports, we can kind of zoom out to something like a monthly chart and see what's really going on here over on AMD. We'll go and turn off that intraday indicator. But Rich, maybe go ahead and walk us through how you're using the fibs over here.
So in April this year, I made some pretty bold call outs. AMD at 77, NVIDIA at 88, Amazon at 162, SPY at 500, Tesla at 185. So Tesla never got to the 185, but I hit on everything else. So
nice.
And I kind of my account, my X account really got a big following because of that. And I'm really grateful for everyone just following along. But basically, the only thing that I try to share is good deals. I get a good deal. And if there's a company that's down 50-60% and it's a good company, why not take a chance? Like, why not put in a few bucks and see? So we had a 66% correction, right, on AMD. So now the second part is what you're asking is kind of how do you come up with the levels? So how do you figure out, where do you want to get in? So right here with AMD. So the pattern that I'm going to show you guys is a cipher pattern. It's an advanced Fibonacci. But if we take our low anchor from $36.75, this is back in the COVID low.
So COVID lows was right.
And the reason I use a COVID low there is because I'm thinking algos are loading up during that COVID low, right? And if they're using the same math that we're trying to figure out here, and then if we take that from to the 227.30 high, which was March 2024, that was the high we had before all of the the market pulled back this year, right? So $77.53, that's the 786 Fibonacci, right? So I always round down just to keep it like a whole number here. So that low right there that we had, once you see that hammer bar come in, That's
Yeah.
your confirmation. A lot of people say, I'm kind of scared, right? Like I'm scared to get in, but you could play the candlesticks as well. So you see, we come on that 786, we have a hammer bar. That's your confirmation on the monthly. Worst case scenario, you risk that one candlestick, right?
Yeah.
And then that one candlestick, look how many candles you got. You got like 4 or 5 times your money just using
For
that one
sure.
candlestick, right? But
Definitely.
if we actually go back a little, so if you keep that that on, and if you go back a little bit to the left, if we go to the high in November of 2021,
Yeah.
right? So this is, if you actually look at this, this is a cipher pattern. It's an ABCD. So you start from the COVID low to your first high. That's your A leg. Then your B leg is your pullback. C leg is the new high. And then the D leg is the 786. So that I had a lot of conviction with that pattern.
No, that's
And
a
I
very nice
remember at the
setup.
time, everybody was like, advanced money destroyer. You're going to lose all your money with AMD. And I was just thinking in my head, this stock is down 60 something percent. You know, like even if I put in 10K, I put in 20K, you know, how much more is it going to go down? You know, that's what I was thinking in my head. And that's how I like to teach Fibonacci is a tool, but the common sense has to be there. You know, it has to be
Of course. Yep. No, 100%, 100%. And so once, I mean, this is a pretty nice trade. I don't know if you're probably looking at the monthly chart, but during this monthly candle, it was, of course, probably not, you know, a giant wick like that, at least not at first.
Yeah.
So it's that like pulling the trigger in that moment. One was you didn't have long to do it. So do you like set alerts or something on there, or do you just kind of, were you watching these levels for a long time and you had that 78.6 in mind, or kind of just walk us through like your mindset there?
Yeah. Well, basically at the same time, everything in the market was coming close to a bottom.
Right.
So at the same time, I was looking at SPY, and with SPY, we had a measured move Fibonacci completion. So maybe we could pull up SPY here, and let's actually go to the weekly chart here for SPY. And if we take the high, so the high at the beginning of the year right there in February, I don't know if you could pull out the tool there. Yep. And then you pull it down to the hammer bar low.
Right here?
No, go up a little bit more, about 4 candles back.
Oh, right here.
Right there, yeah. And you see that candle that rejected there on the 382? That was the
I see.
that was the Liberation Day, right? If you remember what happened. That's when the tariffs were announced. So here's the funny thing. If you double click on that Fibonacci tool, I think you can add it here if you just add the -1 extension.
-1.
Yeah, so I think you just put it in one of here. I think it should work here, and then just hit done, right? Where did it go? Maybe
-1. Where
so I'm trying to do the -100% there. So that's 1.
I'm not sure actually.
Actually, so that 1.6. Why don't put a negative in front of that 1.6? Oh, I think you got to check mark the other box.
Oh yeah, you're right. There you go. My bad.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So basically that's 100% measured move, right? So if you take the original leg that we dropped on this year and you project it 100%, we get 486, right? So at the same time when SPY was hitting that measured move, AMD was at that price level, and Nvidia was at 88, Amazon was at 162. All of these stocks bottomed around the same time, but I like to use the index to kind of lead the way, because I know if the S&P is coming close to a bottom, then maybe some of these other leaders and stocks might come to bottom. The only one that kind of does its own thing is like Tesla. You know, Tesla will do whatever it wants. It'll rally when it wants to. It'll retrace when it wants to. But I use the timing of SPY here to help me. And actually with this SPY play, I went in with 50 contracts. So I have 50 micro contracts.
Playing calls or on the futures?
On futures. So the notional value of those contracts is about 1.5 million. And I've carried those to about 1.8 million since April, right? So I'm using leverage, you know. So I just want to tell everybody I use leverage, but I use leverage on the index, you know, because I'm comfortable with the S&P 500.
Yeah, and with calls, I mean, you're not necessarily using like margin per se. You're just using leverage, which seems a little bit better, I guess, you know. But
yeah, the only thing with the reason I went with futures is because there's no Greeks, there's no decay. Every point move is going to be $50 on a full contract, and I'm rolling it every quarter.
Okay, I thought you meant you're doing calls on futures, so you're just long contracts. Got it.
Long contracts. Yeah, that's the way that I like to do it. I did take leaps at the same time. I took Google leaps, so my Google leaps are up over 200%. and I took Apple and Google, Apple. I took Visa. So Visa is actually the leap
Visa's an
position that's
interesting
down
one.
for me.
Yeah.
And then I took actually some leap positions on SPY. So I
Very
kind of went,
nice.
honestly, I kind of went a little bit all in back in April because
Hey,
if
it
you
was a
look at
good
the
time to
map,
do it. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
for s
20% drop, right? 20%, over
yeah,
20% drop. I said, you
just
know what?
about.
It could be a once in a lifetime play for me. So I'm willing to take that chance.
It's fair. I mean, the risk to reward is there. Is definitely, you know, a good time to load up. But let's put, or what do you think about, you know, SPY now then? Now that's
Hmm.
came up so high now. I mean,
Hmm.
we're still getting pretty good earnings reports from like Google,
Hmm.
Amazon. Let's, by the way, take a look at AMD again. We got 5 minutes till the market closes.
Yeah.
Just to check out what is going on. It looks like from where it's open today, it's right around where exactly it opened. You can put on
Yeah.
your Fibonacci levels again. I'm kind of curious to see. We're still right around that
Hmm.
61.8 level, hang above
I feel
68.
like the algos are going to try to defend this level a little bit here. But what I did this morning with AMD is I went ahead and I sold cash secured puts right
Nice.
away. So I have, so let me pull up what I sold today. So right at the open, I sold the 200 puts on AMD November 14th. And
November 14th.
basically it's very, like, these are very far out the money, right? Like they're not even close to in the
You
money,
said
but
200?
200, yeah. So I
Yeah.
have two of them. So I have 200, and then I have another one. I think it's at 220. So I have two of them that I sold. The 220 I sold a week ago, and then I sold the 200 here. So basically, what I'm preparing for is, like you said, the market's been up a lot, right? So even if AMD has good earnings, if the market pulls back, it can pull AMD with it. You know what I mean? So we've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
that happen many times. So I'm just preparing to load in as much as I can if AMD starts to pull back, you know, because I still,
Okay.
if you look at the run, it went from 77 to,
Yeah.
250, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm
Crazy.
willing to take those pullback. You see, and then you see, we also have that open gap below us. So that's
Yep.
another major support area that I'm looking at as well.
So you're using this gap essentially because, yeah, your strike is just right under this gap right here.
Yeah.
And also, since earnings is pretty much right now, premiums are going to be much higher too. Is that part of
Yep.
your trade as well, or you just happen to be in front of
No,
earnings?
always. So, if you want to get a good company at a deal, you can get paid to wait.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And getting paid to wait is basically, in my view, it's selling puts, right?
Yep.
So for example, if AMD comes to 200, I'll buy it. I know that I'm gonna buy it no matter what. So in the
Fair.
meantime, let me get paid to wait for that, right? So, but you
Yeah.
obviously have to do it and manage. You have to know how much cash you have, and you have to
Yeah.
manage your margin and stuff like that. But that's basically my mindset. And then obviously with earnings, you're gonna get that juicy premium. You keep the premium no matter what,
Yeah.
right?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, yeah, premiums are probably skyrocketed up, and you sold puts expiring in 10 days. Is that
Mhm.
usually about what you go for expiration wise? Is like 10 days from now, like a week, two
Yeah.
weeks?
So
Okay.
I do two layers. I do 7 to 10 days for maximum data decay. And then on other positions like Amazon, for example, where I'm very, very bullish, I have a big position in Amazon. I
Yeah.
sell leap puts, which is something that
Right.
probably people don't really know about. But I sell puts with
Yeah.
365-day plus expiry.
Yeah. That's not
Um,
bad.
where
You get
that way, like,
really low out the money when you do that.
oh yeah, and you're gonna get a chunk of premium. I think I have. Let me see. I think I have a leap put on AMD. Let me just log in Interactive Brokers here.
Yeah.
Let me
Sounds
see what
good.
I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
We have
have the
2 minutes. Oh,
I
go
have
ahead.
the
Go ahead.
June 2026 115 puts. I sold this a while ago. So
115.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then someone
Mm,
actually was willing to pay $875 when I took that play.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
When did you sell those?
So these were months ago. This was months. This was when you see that little dip before the gap up on earnings right over there.
Right over here.
Yeah, right in that zone right
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So not even that long ago. I mean, we're on the weekly chart, got like,
Mm-hmm.
back in September, a couple months. And yeah, 115. I mean, that's a pretty solid,
Mm-hmm.
pretty far out the money, safest strike. I mean, anything can happen, of course, but I mean, worst case, you end up with it at 115. Only
Yeah.
downside is cash secured puts is if now the stock just keeps ripping, which is like a good and a bad thing. Obviously, like, yeah, if
Mm-hmm.
you bought shares, you would have made more, but you're also technically, lowering your odds of making money on the trade, which is, it's an interesting play. Kind of the same thing with covered calls, you know. Yeah, you could buy shares and sell a call, but then if the stock rips above it, and it's like, well, you're making less money than if you just owned it.
I almost got burnt on that because I bought Amazon back in April. My average is 175, and I put in 400 grand in Amazon, and I was selling covered calls on it. And right before earnings, I said no more covered calls just in case there's a surprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
No, you got to, in a
thankfully, I
bull
made the right
market.
choice.
Yeah. You know, in a bull market, it can hurt you. I mean, not hurt you like you make less money, but you know, it's not ideal. Not ideal. But the market just closed right now. We got after hours data on. We got the 1 minute chart open for AMD here. Does your indicator work in after hours? I'm curious. Well, it has the levels at least either way. Probably won't be too useful if we get a massive earnings move at this point, or maybe it will.
Actually be interested. I never really played in the pre-market, but in terms of stocks, but I'd be interested to see if we get a reaction off of one of the levels.
Yeah, you never know.
That'd be kind of interesting to just see.
Yes.
Because I have seen that in the past. But we'll see. You know, one thing I've been telling everybody is S&P 500 to rally over 30 to 40% is very rare. You know, and like we rallied like 30% from the lows. So just be open. Like even this weekend I posted, it's been 6 months of green closes on the S&P 500, which is very, very crazy if you think about it. 6 straight months.
Insane.
So if we get a red month here or there, it's not the end of the world, and we got to look for good opportunities to get a deal.
Yeah, no, 100%. And if you guys are just tuning in for AMD earnings, welcome. We got some people flowing in right now. We're going to have the earnings come out in about, I think they come out at 1:15 Pacific or 4:15 Eastern. Sorry, I'm on Pacific time, but welcome to the stream. We have Rich here from TradingWarz. Great to have you on, Rich, for everyone just joining. If you guys don't know anything about Rich, his info is down in the description below. You can go subscribe to his YouTube. Also subscribe to TrendSpider YouTube, of course, because we're going to be doing a bunch of lives for you guys all throughout November. So it should be a fun time. Would love to see all you guys out there return. But yeah, we just got AMD's 1 minute chart up as we head into market close, and we're getting some movement to the downside right now. Just broke right below today's low and shot right back up. We'll probably get the most movement when the numbers actually come out, but we'll see what happens. It's looking interesting so far with this break below today's low.
Yeah, it looked like they're trying to flush out some of those stop losses potentially at the low.
Exactly.
And but we'll see. I do think with AMD that I started off with at the $77. We had an ad at 154, another ad at 217. And honestly, the rally that this thing has seen it's unprecedented because it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only been 7 months. And we went from $77 to over 250.
I mean, incredible, hasn't it?
It reminds me a lot of Hood. You know, Hood had another crazy run like that too.
Hood was insane.
But I never thought that I would see, you know, Nvidia I always thought would be the big leader, and I just didn't see AMD catching up so quickly. I thought it would catch up over time, but you know, it's caught up, and it's pretty amazing to see. We're living in some crazy times.
No, 100%. Like you were saying earlier, like people are literally dancing on AMD's grave on Nvidia, you know, rockets, you know, advanced money destroyer.
So funny thing is, I'll tell you about that story. So back in April, you know, I took the play on the S&P 500, and the cash that I had left, I went heavy with Amazon, and I don't regret it. You know, obviously Amazon is doing well, but it's not as good as AMD, you know, or Nvidia or Hood. And I played those, but I didn't play them heavy as I should have. But that psychology does hurt. And I just, being a trader and an investor, I tell people, you know, the more that I saw people saying saying advanced money destroyer, it did mess up my psychology a little bit. But I still followed my play. You know, 65% down on the stock. We're gonna take a chance, but I should have positioned a little bit more heavier. But that's the thing with X is or social media is you gotta not let it get to your head. You got to play the good setup.
Yeah, it really just comes down to you got to have a strategy with you know, your own conviction behind it. Like, you know, you have all these Fibonacci levels, and it hits your level. I mean, you got to take emotions out of it, especially if you're scrolling social media. You see that everywhere, you know.
Oh yeah. It was a scary time too, because we were close to getting circuit breakers on the
Yeah.
S&P. It was a
Yeah.
scary time back then, but it was right around the same time that that President Trump tweeted, it's a good time to buy stocks. So it was funny coincidence there.
Yeah. No, that was crazy, right? He actually timed the bottom. I don't know if it must have been a coincidence.
It was very close. I think it was the day after the bottom. It was close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
No,
close.
insane though. Insane. Like the
Yeah.
fact that the president tweeted literally, within days of the bottom itself is just wild. It just shows how wild the times are,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
And it looks like I have the sector ETF list right here on my right-hand side, sorted by percent change on the day. It looks like crypto. I don't know if you trade crypto at all, Rich, but crypto has been kind of the new quote unquote, not advanced money destroyer kind of levels yet, but people are really like, oh, wow, crypto is not doing good.
Yeah.
Or not nearly as good as stocks lately. And then we got tech down 2.8%, XLK. It's like silver and gold down pretty decent today too. And leading is financials and healthcare. It looks like we're seeing a rotation into financials and healthcare from what I've been seeing lately.
Yeah, I never got really into crypto. I always focused on the S&P 500. I was lucky enough about 10 years ago. I had a mentor that basically said, you know what, you could just focus on the S&P 500 and make millions, and or at least make a living. And I said, well, okay, I'm all in. And even to the NASDAQ, I always prefer the S&P, because like you said, if there's rotation into other sectors do well, that's in the S&P 500, like healthcare is in there. There's a bunch of stuff in there. So you kind of diversify yourself by playing that index, so
yeah,
I always do that. And I crypto, I mean, there's a lot of fibs that work on crypto. A lot of people ask me for a Bitcoin. There's many fibs that have been killing it on it, but it's just too volatile for my liking.
Yeah. Would you rather invest in crypto or trade it, or neither?
Yeah, if I was gonna take it, I would do a 5 to 10,000 kind of YOLO play and just leave it. That's it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the play on crypto is like the early move. I guess it's not really as early anymore, but I think a still very small percentage of the population is in crypto still. Also, you've seen insane returns already. So it's a new emerging, very interesting market. I definitely missed a lot of the money making opportunities on it. Unfortunately, I have a little bit, stashed away, but it is what it is.
But that's a good point you brought up, because I finally, it took me 10 years to break 7 figures in my account, and I've been sharing my journey. People have been following me on X since April, and the reality is that you got to be in the market. You got to have time in the market. It's an old saying, but it's the truth. Like if you want to capture the full move on AMD, for example, or Nvidia or Tesla or SPY, the way you're going to capture most of the move is by being in it for a long time. It's not through day trading.
For sure.
Like day trading is great. Like, don't get me wrong. I sell options. I day trade futures. It's great. But if you want those asymmetrical, life-changing type of gains, it's really going to take
a long term,
time.
right? Over years, compound it. People in the chat were just talking right now about SMCI. SMCI is kind of diving on earnings right now. Looks like they released probably, about 5 minutes after. So a few minutes ago. So we'll see how this ties into AMD, if at all.
You want to flip over to a weekly or monthly chart on SMCI?
Sure.
Let's take a look, because I did have some fibs on this one. So actually, right where your trend line is, that's a fib. If you take that from that low, the bottom of that trend line to the high, wick, right there. I think that's a 6786. Yeah, there we go. So that's kind of crazy that it's that close. But I was following SMCI. But I didn't pull the trigger on it. I seen that Fibonacci hold, that 786. That's a great example of a 786 hold. You see how we have a green candle, a little double bottom, a green candle, a red candle, and then another green candle with a long wick. So that's giving you that extra confirmation. But pretty decent
for sure.
play there.
And so it closed at 47.51 here, and now we're sitting at 42. I think that was about like about a 10% dip. So
wow,
not great on SMCI. It looks like the numbers are right over here. Let's take a look. They missed EPS. Wow. And it looks like sales missed as well. Double miss there on SMCI. Not a great look.
No,
not a great look. Unfortunately.
I wonder with SMCI, if we go to like a 5 or 15-minute chart, how did it look on the day? Interesting to see. Okay, so
I'll
it's
turn
pretty
off
much
after
like,
hours there.
yeah, it's pretty much just
Gap down
fade,
actually.
fade. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Pretty bearish on the day. And if we compare that to AMD, let's take a look at what's going on over here. AMD, yeah, kind of gapped down, retraced, and then came straight back down. Let's take a look at the 1 minute, see if we got any movement here. Getting some movement, nothing insane yet. The numbers aren't out yet, but about a 1% total move so far in after hours. But yeah, we got about 5 minutes until the numbers for AMD release. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how AMD reacts. Let me double check what else we got for earnings. I think, yeah, there's SMCI. I have a feeling there's like one other one, but AMD is definitely the biggest one today.
Yeah, definitely.
ANET. Oh, TEM. Let's take a look at TEM. That was the Pelosi play.
Yeah. Tempest. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's down pretty good. Minus 6% on TEM. So it's 2 for 2 to the downside so far. And ANET also down. So hopefully AMD doesn't follow suit here. I think AMD's definitely the biggest one out of those for sure. It looks like Rivian reports as well. Rivian up. Nice. I can see one stock up, only about 3%, but we'll take that. I'll take that. Upstart, Zeta, yeah, decent amount of earnings coming out today. Upstart is pretty flat. Coupang, OUST. I think Dan, our CEO, has been pretty into this one. It looks like I don't know if they poured yet, but they're up pretty good. But AMD, we got 4 minutes still. Let's take a look at some others. Coupang, very not a lot of liquidity on this one, especially in after hours, but it looks like it's still pretty flat. Zeta, relatively flat, had a nice little up move though. But yeah, AMD, SMCI, definitely the top dogs for this earnings release. AMD is actually coming back up to where it closed. Interesting. And let me check where that low of day was. This is a kind of cool indicator just to see the yesterday's previous high and low, and for today.
Yeah, you know what? If we can flip over to SPY real quick with the yesterday's high and low, we rejected exactly at yesterday's low today, which was
yesterday's one. Let's see.
Yeah. So that one I was we were looking at that in the Discord today. That was pretty crazy. So you see, look at that. Look at that rejection. That was crazy. We actually did it, and it looks like in the pre-market also, and then right at the open. So that was a crazy one. A lot of times I just see those algos playing the math game, those number games. If you look on a lower time frame, you see it in detail, but sometimes it's, if you're not really looking, you won't really see it. But that was a good rejection today.
Yeah, no, for sure. That was right on the money. Cool stuff. Someone said Dell is dropping. Let's see. Yeah, Dell's down a few bucks. Whoops, almost closed my window there. Yeah, down a couple percent on Dell. What else do we got? I don't think they even have earnings. I don't know why they're dropping. Let's see. Back to AMD. We got 2 minutes. So in 2 minutes, we should get pretty clear read on what's going to happen with AMD here. I don't know, Rich, are you any sort of, I know you're obviously a technicals trader, but do you use any sort of fundamental analysis? Like how much do earnings reports mean to EPS, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these stocks are pricing in basically the AI revolution, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's more about the future rather than like earnings. Yeah, it's going to impact the short term for sure. But the question is, what can these companies become? With Amazon, for example, that's probably my highest conviction play that I have. I have over 2,000 shares of Amazon, but my play on that wasn't around Amazon's current earnings. It was about the future. Where could Amazon Web Services go one day? What could it become one day? That's kind of my mindset around these companies. But when it comes through just charting and everything, the only thing I care about is how much is a stock down? Is it down 10, 15, 20%? Then let me take a stab at it. Otherwise, when it comes to long-term playing and investing, I don't care if it's down one day. You know, a good rule of thumb that I like to use is give me 3 red weeks in a row, give me 2 red weeks in a row, give me something like that where I can get a good deal, start building a position, and that
Yeah,
way I know
makes
my
sense.
risk is managed.
Yeah. So basically, you're just trying to get the best deal as you can possible on a company that you believe in on the long term, and that makes sense. I agree. Like the market is definitely forward looking, so it's all about what a company can become. I mean, you see
Exactly.
Palantir
Yep.
trading at like whatever it is, 600x price to earnings, something insane. But it's all about what's going to happen, potentially happen in the future, and we're getting AMD movement right here to the downside. Oof. Okay, let's see. Yeah, not terrible, like 3%, but we're getting some movement. Let's see if numbers have appeared yet. Numbers are out.
Oh, wow. Look at this
Oh,
candle.
wow. Look at that candle. 1 minute candle. It's like 3%, less than a minute there. Let's see if I can find numbers. Keep refreshing this news widget here. Should come out any second, but let's see.
That is a
Oh,
crazy candle. Wow.
and now we are going to the upside. Look at this. This is why people love to watch earnings. They'll tune into these streams. If you guys are just joining in for earnings, welcome. We are here live with Rich from TradingWarz. You can find his info in the description below. Make sure to subscribe to the TrendSpider channel. Make sure to go check out Rich and TradingWarz. But yeah, back to AMD. We're getting some crazy movement right now. Still trying to find what the numbers were. Let me see. A few seconds ago. Okay. AMD EPS beats, sales beat, double beat, beat on sales, beat on EPS. So double beat. And then we have the obviously the earnings call, which more will be set on later on. Or let's see when that call is. Did they already have their call? It says 2 p.m. I don't know when that 2 p.m. Oh, no, it's not available. It says 2 p.m. Probably in 45 minutes. It's going to have the earnings call. So that's will be when a lot more movement will come in. Numbers are out, though. And it looks like, I mean, there's been a lot of movement, but mostly flat. But yeah, double beat. So if you're, invested in AMD, you can at least, even if the stock goes down, you at least know they're doing good on paper, So let's see.
I'm actually kind of interested to see if we take the fib from that low of that candle to the high. It looks like it stopped right on the 50%. If we were to, I think we'd have to draw this one. Yeah. Or we could draw it manually. If we take that, so that's 50% of today's range. If you take your manual fib from that low candle right there,
This
that
crazy
wick,
one right here,
and then take it straight up to the red candle, I think it stopped halfway right there, 247.75. So those are those, like, whenever you have those massive candles, it usually fills halfway, right? And because the algorithm is looking for a deal also, right? So you can see that halfway fill at 247.75, and now a new high. They probably be all out right now, make money within a few minutes.
Interesting. Yeah, very cool.
So the same thing that you're seeing here on the 1 minute chart, it's the same thing.
Move.
Same thing that happens on the monthly and the weekly. It's just a different time frame, just different amount of time. But these high frequency traders, at least the ones that I've met, that's the game right there. You need a program to execute that. It's not, it's very hard to do that manually as a human.
For sure. Getting those precise fills, especially as retail too. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely nice move there. Bounce off that 50%. I mean, a lot of retail probably can't even, depending on their broker, can't even trade right now too. So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
But yeah, looks like overall from close, we're up, about like 0.7%. I feel like as long as if you're holding a stock through earnings, you got to be happy with a beat and at least not a dump. Like it's never fun when your stock beats earnings, and then it tanks as well. It's like, well, damn, like fundamentally good, but
I would say unfortunately too, the market was a little bit bearish today, so that might have something to play in the reaction. And if we start to see rotation out of tech, like you were discussing, it could still kind of hurt AMD in the long run, at least off of this earnings. So
yeah, and tech itself was very bearish today. XLK minus 2.86%. let me pull up my other sector ETFs. We'll see what SMH was down 3.71%. So, semiconductors led the decline as at least for equities today. Bitcoin was down about 6%. So I think that's the earnings call. Oh, no, it's just the music for it. Earnings call starts in 40 minutes though. So we'll probably be out of here by then.
I wonder if they're going to hold that 50% retracement again. That would be interesting.
Look at that. Yeah, another reaction.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, it is. Let me put your indicator up real quick. Yeah, it's interesting to see. It's actually today's low as well, kind of just right below it. It's another cool thing about the fibs is that, works on basically pivot points too, in a way, once you're drawing them.
It's all math. It's all percentages. I strongly believe the whole stock market is based on ratios and percentages.
For sure.
Because at the end of the day, it's so sophisticated with algorithms and robots and and all of those work on ratios, math, risk to reward. So I strongly believe that that's the driving force behind a lot of these numbers.
Yeah, I think 100%.
It's funny. My projection on AMD, I'm going to be pretty bold here, but some people have asked me about this. So my long-term target on AMD is $345. And so if anyone's interested on that, but basically that's the 0.618 extension. And we've had
that's interesting.
Yeah, we've had a few stocks that's hit that. Yeah, we can go back over to the monthly or something. Yeah, monthly. And then the same fib anchors that we had. We had the anchor at
COVID low
36.75, and then the high at 227.30. And then you just put that 1.618 on. Yeah, that one just hit that. I think that's it. Yep. Or no. Maybe.
Oh, not. You know what? I think I'm drawing it the wrong way.
Oh no, I think you have it up there. I think you have it up there.
It is. Don't you just have to draw from top to bottom?
Let
me try something.
Yeah.
Or I can maybe just.
I normally go low to high. Yeah.
Reverse. There you go.
Low to high.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's my target right there. That 345.06.
That makes sense. Yeah. The 1.618 level is something we watch a lot too. Something we tweet a lot on socials. It's a very interesting way to look for price targets.
So basically, if you're bullish on AMD, the philosophy is this: if you know you're going to get 345, every 10% drop, every 15% drop on the stock, you can accumulate leaps. You can buy shares if that's your thesis, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way that I like playing these stocks. And the one that's blown through everything this year is actually Hood. Hood was probably the only one that hit all of the measured move targets this year. And that little fib right there, 29.77. Let me get you the anchor points that I have. So the low, the all-time low, $6.81. And
what was that? $6. I think that was probably around here. Yeah.
And then the previous high in February of 2025, that high was 66.91. And this one will scare you actually, because the 618 Fibonacci, once you get it up there, that was $29.77, right?
No, sorry, which one?
So 681 is your low, and then your high should be 66.91. Yeah, just got to update that to 66.91.
So it automatically snaps. That's what we have.
That's interesting, because it's funny because on the chart that I also have a TradingView chart up here, and they have a different high. So that's interesting.
Yeah. TradingView data, I've it goes back and forth. Everyone here says, because we have data included in everyone's plan on TrendSpider, so I think it's a little bit more reliable. But it really just depends where you get it from. What was yours? 6691.
6691, yeah. And then that gives me a 618 Fibonacci of $29.77. But anyways, so you could see this one already hit that 1.6.
Yeah, no, that was perfect right there. Yeah.
So Hood was one of the names I played a lot, and it's that I think this is kind of the star of this year in terms of just that raw move off of April's low. It's been one of the best.
Perfect. Yeah.
And then also Google. I'm still holding my Google Leaps. I have until 2027. So we have that
Google's
play
been
here.
amazing. So
Yeah.
is Amazon, of course.
So
Yeah, look at that.
Google, my anchors on Google, I have a low 120.21. That was back in October of 23. And then the high going into this year was 206.76.
Oh, I see.
So the reason I use that is that's a cipher pattern, very similar to AMD. We had an ABCD. Yeah, right there.
This one right
That
here.
one. Yeah, exactly. So that's the cipher. You have that extra little push to a new high. So you can see the golden zone right there, that 50, that's 160 down. I think you just have your fibs swapped a little bit, but that 50% there is 160, and then the 618 should be around 150.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know if it was there or there, but pretty close either way.
Yeah.
You know, you
So basically you see that green candle. The way that I play it is I literally just wait for that green candle in the fib zone right there.
This one right
After those
here.
two, that one, boom, that's my confirmation. Because a lot of people say, Rich, you know, like, how do I know when to do it? Like, it's the market is red. It's like, okay, wait for that green candle, boom, that's my trigger. So I've been holding on to those leaps. I have until 2027. So hopefully those, I probably might just convert them into shares at some point later on down the road.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes sense. Let's pull back AMD. We got a question. Someone is asking, how far would you recommend buying AMD 350 call expiration? 350 call.
50.
That's your level.
Yeah,
I'm probably referring to.
So
yeah,
I wouldn't go that far out the money if you're gonna buy calls.
Yeah.
I would buy shares. Just buy shares. Like, if you look at all these politicians, they always go in the money. Because remember, if you're out the money like that, you're going to be fighting against the Greeks, right? So you don't want to put a time on it either. You don't want to say, I have to have this happen by next week. You know, that's not a good way to look at it, right? Always try to have your if you have equity, you can own it forever. And that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Equity is always safe. I totally agree. And you're 100% correct. These politicians, they literally buy in the money, which is basically just buying equity, but with requiring less capital. It's interesting. You can exercise your option as well, but you're going to have to pay a little bit of a premium, of course, you know, to be able to have that basically leverage without, you know, paying margin. But either way, like Rich said, equity is always going to be something you can hold forever. You don't have to have, you don't have to worry about an expiration. I think it gives your mind a little bit of a clear conscience as well, knowing that you can literally hold forever. Whereas, you know, if you go through a bear market and you're holding calls, you could be toast, you know? So,
oh yeah.
But it's different risk profile. You can make a lot more. Looks like we're getting some downward movement on AMD. Not looking great. Not looking great here. Could probably remove these at this point. Let's see. We're down. Let's see. Close to 4%, but we ticked right down at 4% so far. They did have a double beat. If you guys are just joining, AMD had a double beat. Earnings call in about 30 minutes. So we'll see. We'll see. But it looks like earnings across the board today have just been pretty bearish. You have SMCI down quite a bit. I think it was like close to 10%. Yeah, down 11% at one point. Now only down 5.8%. So we'll see how everything turns out tomorrow morning once markets actually open again, and we see what happens. I'm curious. Let's see what Palantir is up to as well today. They had earnings yesterday. We went live for. So yeah, they did. They went down pretty good on earnings, honestly. And today it looks like they really just chopped around. So not a lot of bullish momentum in the markets today, huh?
And I would say that goes back to that question that we just had in the chat. That's why I wouldn't chase calls, because you see that little bit of consolidation that you have, you lose value on that consolidation.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. It goes against you. And but the reason I'm saying I've got burnt trying to chase short term, calls, and that's the reason I'm sharing that, because you're better off just getting the equity. Even if you buy the equity, you can sell covered calls against it if you want to make some extra money, right? So, like, let's say you buy the shares right now and you start selling a 10 delta calls against it. You'll still be making extra money from options as well. So there's multiple ways to make money, but you got to look at the politicians at the end of the day. That's my view. If they're doing deep in the money, then why would you want to chase out the money? If they're not doing it, there's a reason they're not. right?
Yeah. Yeah. TrendSpider has all the politician data too. I don't know if you knew that. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
Like they
This
have
was
a
actually an
Pelosi.
interesting feature. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
looking at this. I actually had the Nancy Pelosi up on my chart. Yeah, and it was actually showing
Yeah.
me the buys, which was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. We have the indicator. You can plot it right on your chart. It's actually kind of funny. She recently sold some Apple, not a crazy amount. But if we pull it up, the insider or Congress trades on chart indicator here, she did a couple sell. Oh, let's do the Pelosi only. Yeah, Pelosi trades on chart, or what is it called? Pelosi trade tracker.
And I know she did a play on Amazon and Google, which are like my two big positions. So that's cool to see it. I think Amazon was like at the beginning of the year. Yeah. So she went through a whole drawdown. Yep.
Right there in January. Google, I think, she honestly bought kind of right before that downturn, which is interesting. But I mean, still.
But what's funny there is if you have short-term calls, you're dead, you know, in that situation.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean,
I think all of her plays are like what, 2 years out, maybe?
Yeah, they're several years pretty far in the money. I mean, I don't know exactly her strikes, but I mean, there's a good chance she at least got maybe tested on the strike price there, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But luckily, I mean, she only had to sit through not even more than a few months of correction, which is nice. Basically 2 months, which isn't bad, not bad, not ideal to buy there, but Tem reported earnings today. I know it was going crazy when she reported this. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was funny.
And 10 is not having a great one. Yeah. Yeah. Let's take a look again at AMD. It's coming back up a little bit.
Yeah, there we go.
So really just waiting for the call. This is kind of how Palantir went, just up and down in after hours until everyone's waiting for the call to happen. So that's probably what's going to happen here on AMD. Luckily, it's not acting like SMCI and just, kind of bleeding.
And that's funny because that brings me, I know we were talking a little bit about off air about kind of like my options approach on the weekend and stuff, like what I do with that. But those situations are what I live for, where I sell strangles on the S&P 500. I use the futures contract Sunday. The futures market opens at 6 o'clock. So I sell calls and I sell puts that are very far out the money. So a lot of the time, the outlier events, let's say this year, our outlier event was what happened in April, when we had that big crash. I'm not expecting another outlier event for at least 1 year, right? So in that time, that's just the math that I'm using based on math. So in that time, I can make money selling calls and puts that are very far out the money and trying to make money both ways. So in that situation where you see us pop up, we come down and then we pop back up again, that is just killing premiums on both sides. So I love those type of scenarios.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And then also like, during those times, I'm curious to your take on obviously the VIX was like shooting up as well. So you're collecting more premium.
Oh, you're getting a lot. Yeah. I was averaging about $2,000 to $3,000 a week selling premium when the VIX gets high. And you just have to, but what I do with the VIX is high, my deltas go a little bit further out, right?
Yeah, because you might as well, you get the same premium to go even lower.
Exactly. So you got that extra probability plus the extra money. So you don't want to get greedy. The moment you get greedy is when things fall apart. You can't get greedy.
Yeah, 100%. And with premium selling, I mean, that's the way it goes. Is generally you're going to win most of the time. And then those outlier events are the times where like you really, really got to be careful, So I think you got to be like pretty advantageous about it. Like when the market drops like that, maybe take advantage. I don't think it's a strategy. I mean, you can sell options kind of year round, but you're going to increase your chances of, not going into an outlier event a lot if you only trade when the VIX is high, for sure.
Oh yeah. And just having everything you do, whether it's investing or options, or even I trade a lot of futures. Like this year in May, I took a futures trade on 618 Fibonacci on SPY, and that went for 400x, and that was like my greatest trade ever. But the point of what I'm saying is that like everything I'm doing is not with huge size. You know what I mean? It's enough that it means something, but where you can get in trouble is the moment where you go all in on something and you're desperate for it to turn around in a week or 2 weeks. You can't play that game. You just have to think of yourself as a almost like a robot. You're just firing out good probability trades with good size and just see what sticks, you know.
No, for sure. And like having a system like, like you have with your fibs that like, you can like repeat, and it's like a strategy. They have conviction behind that. That combined with like not over leveraged, like position size wise, is like you're going to be super chill. You're going to be able to hold through it. Your emotions are going to be more intact. Of course, if you're a beginner trader, it's kind of really something you have to build up. Like, I've been training for many years now, but even then, like in the beginning, especially, like the emotions can be so crazy. And I feel like it's impossible to learn how to control those without going through some sort of like, bad loss. Like you're going to take those big losses. Just like learning how to deal with them is like truly like, it's super cliche. Like psychology is all about trading, but it's true. You're 100% right.
And with the two indicators that we put into TrendSpider, the Auto Fib in the previous day's range, I have 5 to 10 years of data behind these fibs, and my win rate is about 60% on these fibs, right? It's nothing is going to be 100% no matter what.
Yeah, of course.
What I love about the fibs is I always get a bargain, right? So if I go in, so let's say today on the S&P, we rejected yesterday's low, right? On a play like that, you got to make at least double your money, right? And if you can make double your money, you only need to win 34 out of 100 trades. You know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah.
Right. So there's your rejection on yesterday's low, so 34% win rate with a 2-to-1 risk to reward. That's all you need. So it's not, that's why I love the fibs, because it gives me that risk to reward. If I chase, my risk to reward will be inverted. I might be chasing to make $1, but my risk is $10. So you eventually get burnt. So that's why I try my best to just really, really focus on the quality areas on the chart that are going to give you the best deal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Love that. And fibs are a great, it's like a useful, but also like pretty simple tool to like kind of master, like you pick the 2 pivot point levels, draws the levels that you watch, and you just trade them. That's really all there is to it. I'm curious how your risk management is.
I would say just focus on the 618 and the 786. That's it.
For sure.
Focus on those 2 levels. Come every day to the market. If you're going to trade, if you have a small account, you want to trade futures. That's the way I went about it. I grew a futures account from 5,000 to 84,000 back in the day, and basically with futures, let's say you can secure 10 points a day on one contract. That's $500. If you want to do a small account with a micro, it's going to be $50, right? So just come to the market every day and look, say, hey, can I make $50 a day? And then eventually when you get good at it, instead of doing one contract, you do 2, or then you do 3, or then you do 4. Right? Like right now I have 50 contracts on. Like you're not going to get there overnight, but the process of getting good deals and getting good dips, you have to be able to do it with one contract, and then you can execute it to infinity. Really, you can do as much as you want.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious on your take. I know you grew like with your own money. Curious on your take on using props.
Yeah. I've been approached by a lot of prop firms over the years, and to be honest, I don't really have anything good to say about them, in my opinion, just because I feel like even if you do succeed, it's not really your money, in a sense that it kind of builds the wrong habits. I don't.
Right.
I think it kind of makes people feel like I can just restart, but when I'm trading my capital, there's no restart button, it's do or die. So it actually trains me to be a little bit more risk adverse and be more conservative, which I think is the right way to trade over time. If you're going to do this for 25, 30, 40, 50 years of your life, you might as well do it the right way, and be conservative and take calculated bets. And I feel like a lot of those firms kind of encourage, the wrong things. And so I never really got on board with them. And I just feel like people should trade their own capital and build their own wealth. And another thing is,
that's very fair. That's very fair.
I was just gonna say that, like I'm a CPA, and I still have CPA practice and stuff like that, because the market shouldn't be the thing that pays your bills, in my opinion.
I also agree. Yeah.
You need if you want to go exponential in the market, and you want to go 7 figures plus, you have to let it grow. And if you're taking money out of the markets to pay your bills or whatever, it's not gonna help you in the long run. it's going to take away. So I always tell people, do trading. You can invest. You could trade with a full-time job. I used to go in the washroom and trade back in the day. You know what I mean? Like
right.
you can make it work. You know, even
Yeah,
what I
for
said,
sure.
like on Sunday, you can set up your trades on Sunday and walk away. It's like, how much do you really want it?
There's a
That's what
lot
it
of
comes
different
down.
ways to trade. You're right. You know,
Yeah,
you can set up on the weekend. You can set it up every night the day before the market opens. I mean, there's so many different ways to make it
yeah,
work. You're
yep.
absolutely correct. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So just I just don't want people to feel like they got to be desperate with the market. That's not a good relationship to have, because
For
even if you
sure.
do well, there's always that risk in the future that you could lose everything if you're not disciplined, you know?
Yeah. No, 100%. Like building a system to like where you stay disciplined is very important as well.
Mhm. I
Because
think the
yeah,
easiest system, if I was completely recommend to a beginner that doesn't have any time, stay on the monthly chart, draw the fibs. You're gonna get a retracement 1 to 2 times per year, and that's it. You play that one retracement, and that's the
yeah,
end of it.
not
You know.
wrong, dude. I mean, yeah, with these
Mhm,
swing position style trades, I mean,
mhm,
really just takes it could just be a couple of trades a year, and you can like basically set up
mhm.
alerts, guys. Like you draw the fibs, you just right click the level, whatever you're on, set an alert. If it hits it, you get a ding, you buy it. You can even like route your order to a signal stack on TrendSpider with
Correct.
alerts
Correct.
too.
Yep.
There's a
And
lot of
I
ways
would
to
I would do a
automate this.
pyramid approach, so that way you don't have
Mm,
FOMO. You know, buy some on the 50, buy some on the 618, buy some on the 786,
okay.
and do a little bit here and there and there, so you don't have FOMO, so you don't feel like you missed out. So you don't, you know, that's the best way to deal with the mental demons of trading and investing. Just
Yeah.
have your
No.
pyramid approach coming in, and you'll always be in it. And just know, say, hey, look, I put in 50K. My max risk here is 25K. What's my upside? Maybe 100K. Then if you're doing basic math in your head, you're good to go, because you know your risk to reward is positive.
Exactly. And I'm curious, like with the market up so much, what you're looking at these days.
Mhm. But yeah, so
Uh,
these days, actually, what I'm doing is I have my core positions on from April. I actually have my
yeah.
own tracker, Google Sheets. It's free. Anybody can come and look at my trades in my Google Sheets. But
Nice.
basically, I have Amazon and the S&P 500 are my two left major core positions, and
Mm,
they are basically $2 million of notional exposure, right? And I'm close to 2x leverage in my account. So basically, my game plan is I am generating cash flow from selling options every single week and from trading options, doing stuff like that. Right now, when we're near all-time
That's
highs, my main focus is to just make money from short-term premium selling and just
that's
build up more cash reserve.
yeah,
That's what I'm
just
trying to
selling
do right now.
calls. Yeah, honestly, that's pretty solid advice. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
So
great.
I would hate for, like, people always ask me, like, what do I do now? I would hate for people to buy at the all-time high, to see the market correct 10% and then blow up their account. You know, I would never tell
Right.
people to do that. You know,
Yeah.
if
No.
why if you could sell puts right here, sell some puts. If you get assigned at a good deal, then you're in the game, right?
Yeah. 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 You see SPY right here. I mean, on the monthly chart, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like green candles, like you
Hmm.
said earlier. I mean, I mean, I love, stocks going up, but you got to be kind of realistic at some point.
Yeah.
Like maybe you keep going up, but at the same time, I mean, markets are eventually going to have those down times, give us
Oh
some better
yeah. The
deals.
more the more green candles you see in a row, you could literally go into Chat GPT and put this information in. You're getting close to some type of pullback,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You're gonna
definitely.
get, it doesn't matter how good the earnings are or whatnot, because you have to think of an institution, you have to think of a hedge fund, right? If they rode the wave from April and they made 40, 50, 100%, 200% return, if they start selling and they start rotating, you're gonna see a pullback. You
Yeah,
know, you,
for
you will.
sure. Yeah. And depends where they rotate too. I mean, right now, I mean, there's always, I guess not always, but there's generally somewhere where the money is flowing, whether it
Hmm.
even be cash or whether it be bonds right now. I mean, we see Bitcoin down, we see semiconductors down, we see tech down, even silver and gold. But we see consumer staples and financials and healthcare in the green. So, just finding deals maybe to where the money is flowing to could be another alternative approach. Um,
Hmm.
Depending if you're looking for new trades.
And I like that idea, and I just never really got in. I really just focused on, okay, just S&P 500. That's
That's
it.
fair.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I like that idea though, definitely. But I feel like it's hard sometimes to pick certain stocks, or if you're I like the approach of using like an ETF,
I
or
agree.
something like that, which
Yeah.
kind of covers a broad range. Because if you pick
Mhm.
a stock and that one stock in that sector has fraud, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're still going to lose money. So sometimes it's hard to pick, and I really love focusing on the S&P because of that.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, I think everybody before trading, or maybe even just in general, should just have, some long ETF exposure. I always preach that. Like, I wouldn't trade my money before, and at least having some like long-term investments, compounding for me in the background.
Oh
But I
yeah,
think an
definitely.
approach of, doing both is always good. But I think that like the best way, like even you said, like start on the monthly chart, like start on the longer time frames, the longer time horizons is always a good idea, especially for
Mhm.
beginner.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
think if we look at the AMD monthly, I feel like we're probably going to have an inside month this month. Um, where I don't think, we're going to make a new high based on this candle right here. There's
yeah,
a possibility that we stay in the range of last month. So
big
basically,
range.
yeah, basically, I feel like we're going to kill a little bit of option premiums. We're going to settle down, and then we're going to set ourselves up for a potential another rally, unless we have some crazy kind of like AI thing going on and some news and deals are happening. Then I think we can blow through the roof. But whenever you see candles of that size, that magnitude, usually you consolidate a little bit before the next
For
leg.
sure. Oh yeah. And you see the 78.6 level, the 61.8 level, you know, in between this candle here, the 61.8 is actually pretty much right below that candle as well, from your previous fibs. So maybe, we got another lower high on the way eventually. But we'll have to see. I'll have to see.
Yeah, you know
Um,
what's funny actually, if we go to AMD, if we go to the daily chart real quick.
yeah.
So we actually had a recent leg pull up here.
Yep.
That So that recent daily chart right there, there's a little 786. If you come off of, let me get that day for you right here. 1 second here. So if we go to AMD on the daily, yeah. So if you take the 6th of October, I think you have after hours on, right?
Yeah. I just turned it off. Yeah.
Yeah. So 6th of October.
Hmm.
So that low was right around like 200 and something. And then you bring
Hmm.
it up to the 9th of October. So that little leg, 6 to the 9th, right there, that red candle, boom. So you see how we held, so just on your fib setting, just hit the reverse on what you have right now. Cause I
Yeah.
think the numbers are just like reverse for me. There you go. So right there, that little 618 area, 217. So I do spaces, weekly, and that was the level we were focusing on for a while, that 217 at that 618.
Yeah.
But you could see kind of like what's happening on the monthly. It might be reflecting on the daily in a way. You have a big candle, and then you have some smaller candles, consolidation, holding levels, and then you see the expansion. I could see something like that happening on the monthly chart for AMD coming up.
Interesting. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Yeah, good insights. A lot of different, so many different time frames you can throw these fibs on, like you were saying. It's
Mhm,
pretty
mhm.
cool.
Yeah, it goes as deep as you want it to go in terms of the
Yeah.
rabbit hole, because it happens on the 1 minute chart too, 30-second chart, like
Yeah.
that pivot right there. If you take, that's a 618. I could see it right now. If you go from the low of this 1 minute chart right here, if you pull up your fib tool and just take that low to that recent swing high, that last one we had a
From
few
back
minutes
here.
ago. No, the down a little
Oh,
bit
like
to
right
that,
here.
that one right there. Boom. So you can see that 618 hold. That's an algo within an algo. So if you go to like even a 30-second chart, you'll see that like that's developing on a lower time frame. So within fibs, you have smaller fibs. It's just like
Yeah,
it's kind of like it goes crazy, and then you can get overwhelmed. So you have to make sure you
definitely.
follow an approach. Like I don't jump from the 5 minute to the 1 minute chart or the 30-second chart. You pick your time frame and you master that. But that's a good example of a 618 right there. And then so people might say, hey, Rich, well, how do I know it's going to hold? Look at that green candle, the final green candle before we break out on the 618. If you go down a little bit to the right, yeah, you see that big, there's your candle. There's like a little engulfing candle, whatever you want to call it. There's your confirmation. So that's how you can
Yeah,
play it as well.
makes sense. So you'd be buying after this candle closes and just
Yeah, and you can have a tight stop if you want to play the candle game. You just play that candle. You could literally play that candle. Entry on the high of the candle, stop below the candle. If it works,
mhm,
great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're
mhm.
looking for a 2-to-1 risk to reward at least. And I think that's one probably hit a 3-to-1. If you look at the measurement tool, it's probably like
Yeah, I
3 or
got my
2.
position tool
Yeah.
here. If you were to buy like right there,
Yeah, and
set
then
your
put it at the
stop.
low of the candle. Yeah, you could even do the fib there. Yeah, there you go. So that's a nice little play right there. But that's how I day trade. That's exactly how I day trade. The same
That's
thing.
cool.
I just hit it and go for it. But you're gonna have streaks. You're gonna have times where you're hitting everything and then times where you're losing. But if that 2-to-1 risk to reward is embedded in your system, then you only need to win 4 out of 10 trades.
Exactly. Yeah. You really, that risk to reward is massive, especially in day trading. Right.
Oh yeah. Very important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I tell people in the long term, just in investing wise, if you get one multi-bagger in your portfolio, you're good to go. You know,
Right.
like if anybody got the hood run in their portfolio, it basically covers everything else in their portfolio.
You're not wrong, you know?
So that's the way you got to think about it. Just we need one good multi-bagger. One good multi-bagger will take care of you.
Yeah. So how many positions do you think you would want in like a long-term investing portfolio for individual stocks? Because I know you say you stick to SPY a lot.
So what I have right now is I have 50 contracts S&P 500. That's like the majority of the portfolio.
Yeah.
I have 2,282 shares of Amazon. That's my second biggest position. Then I have a Leaps portfolio. So the Leaps portfolio, I treat it kind of like cash. You know, it's just like cash. It's over there. So within the Leaps portfolio, I have Google, I have Apple, I have Visa, and I have SPY. So that's my core long term. So that's what I have right now. Yeah. And then I have a bunch of premium sold, like all the AMD Leap puts, AMD puts, NVIDIA puts, all these puts that I sold at different levels. And basically my goal is to, if I get assigned on one of those, then it's going to become a part of my long term, right? It's going to become part of my play. Or if not, I'll just keep collecting premium.
Yeah. So those are all mostly like large caps. Do you ever focus on smaller cap or mid cap stocks at all?
Yeah.
Or
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I back to what I was saying earlier is when I first started and I just saw the people I was around, my mentors that were making so much money on the S&P, I just said, it's not worth it. It's not worth it for me to really look for anything else. Because if you think about it, right, if you do futures, you can get 10x leverage on the S&P.
Yeah.
You know, sure. In my head, if I'm gonna go YOLO 10x leverage, I'm gonna roll with the S&P, you know, instead of an individual stock or a mid cap or small cap or even crypto. That's the way that I think about it in my head, because I am, you know, long term bullish on the S&P. 20 years from now, I think the S&P will be higher than where it is right now.
I agree.
That's the way that I think about it.
Yep. Yeah, no, totally. That's a great mindset. It's a great mindset. Just develop a system on, you know, the most steady thing in the market, basically, and, you know, might as well.
Yeah. I think people just get caught up on like, well, how am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? But think about it. If you use futures contracts, 10 points a day is $500. So like, how much more do you really want to make than that? You know, if you want to make more, then just do 2 contracts, 3 contracts. Now you're up to $1,500, $2,000, right? And that's what a lot of people do for. It's very clean leverage, but you know, leverage is not for everybody though, you know, because a lot of people, if you go down the rabbit hole of revenge trading or whatnot, you can easily blow up as quickly as you make it. So you have to make sure you have some type of system. That's why the fibs keep me sane. If it's not in a pullback, I'm not interested. That's the way I think about it.
No, position sizing is definitely key, or not even position sizing, because if you're trading with a $5,000 futures account, you're pretty much using what you're leveraging way more than $5,000. So you really have to have your risk management down.
Oh yeah. If you do one micro contract is roughly 35,000 of the S&P.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're coming in with a 5K account, you're at what, 5, 6, 7x leverage. You got to be careful. Right?
Exactly.
You got to have stop losses. You got to, risk 10 points to make 20 points. You got to go for those type of plays.
Yep. No, 100%. 100%. Well, it looks like AMD, right back to where it started here. I mean, kind of the same that happened to Palantir. You know, a lot of movement in the after hours, but ultimately came back right exactly to where essentially it closed at. We got 7 minutes until their call. Rich, I'll probably start streaming there if I can get their earnings call. That is, I might have to sign up. But we'll probably call the stream. We'll probably hop off in about 7 minutes. You can hop if you're busy, you can hop off now. But otherwise, I'll probably just end up streaming the call here in 7 minutes. If you guys are still out there in the chat, thanks for sticking around. We'll probably have the earnings call up here pretty soon. Again, we're live with Rich here from TradingWarz. You can find out more about him in the description below. Go subscribe to our TrendSpider channel. Go subscribe to Rich. Check him out. Great guy. It's been a great conversation so far. Appreciate you for coming on, Rich. This has been awesome.
Yeah, no, and I want to thank you guys for coming out. I've been a partner with TrendSpider since the beginning, back in the day, and I have some of my scanners and indicators on TrendSpider, and I'm really happy to get the fibs out there.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
I have on my YouTube channel, I have the Fibonacci King playlist that I built. And if you guys want to learn more about fibs, just check out that playlist. It's all for free. I mean, you can learn everything. I literally go beginner to pro. I just posted a video, a shorts, how to trade Fibonacci in 2 minutes with a live trade. So you guys can see it and watch it if you enjoy it. But thanks so much for having me. And I really appreciate you guys. So thank you.
Appreciate you as well, Rich. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Take care, guys. I'm going to head out.
See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was Rich. Great guy. Great guy. Super, super insightful. His YouTube channel is TradingWarz. You can find it in the description below, you guys. I don't know what his Google Drive link is, and maybe that's in his website, which is also should be linked below. Let me see. But yeah, you should just be able to Google TradingWarz and find him, you guys. Let's see. But yeah, we got the earnings call here in 5 minutes. Should probably get some more movement into that call. Let me go ahead. Oh, I thought I put his YouTube. Let me go ahead and find his YouTube and link it down for you guys. But yeah, going into this call, AMD again, like I was just saying, exactly where it started. I will drop TradingWarz YouTube channel below in the chat, on the YouTube chat. Oh, accidentally double posted it. Sorry about that. Let me delete mine. But yeah, it was great having him on. And again, we're going to be going live the next 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, for more earnings. So if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, because we're going to be hammering the live button for the rest of November and the foreseeable future. When any of these big events are coming out, love to watch earnings with you guys. We got FOMC minutes in a couple weeks, so it should be fun. I can't see Gio. If you look at the chat, you should be able to see the link to his channel. Guys, just Google TradingWarz with a Z. He'll pop up. But his link is in the chat below for you guys to check out. And as we come into the end of the day here, or not end of the day, into the earnings call, I should say, AMD is a little bit down, but we'll see what Lisa Su has to say, one of the GOAT CEOs on the earnings call. Oh, and real quick, I'm going to shut off the screen for just a second, you guys, so that I can make sure I get the audio going for you guys. Let me see if I can do it without. No. Let me stop this and re-add it with audio real quick. Bam. Cool. And let me pull up this earnings call for you guys. Should have it right here. I think this is the link. Yeah, if you guys are still in the chat, let me know if you guys are in any trades in AMD or SMCI or any other earnings plays, or just any plays in general. If you guys are out there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be hopping out of here so you guys can listen to the trading or the earnings call just a couple minutes when it starts. If you guys have any questions about TrendSpider, the platform, do let me know down in the chat before I have to head out. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy listening to the live earnings call. Should be fun to see what good old Lisa Su has to say. Miles is in AMDL puts. Interesting. So I'm assuming AMDL is the levered version of AMD. It is. And you're in puts. So I guess maybe you're looking probably pretty good for now. We'll see how this call goes. But they're down slightly. And again, if you guys didn't know, AMD did post a double beat earnings, beat revenue and EPS. So, great fundamentals all around. Let me see what else news has come out, if any. Oh, it looks like this is interesting. Amazon dissolves share stake in AMD as of quarter ended September 30th versus quarter ended June 30th. So sometime within the last, I guess, 6 months or so, Amazon dissolves their share stake in AMD. That's interesting news that we got here on TrendSpider's news feed. Congrats, Joshua. Love to hear that. Let's see. AMD shares trading lower despite a Q3 beat is correct. What else we got? AMD expects revenue to be approximately $9.6 billion. Looks like for the fourth quarter of 2025, plus or minus $300 billion at the midpoint of the revenue range. And I guess that is good forward guidance. The thing cuts off here, but it is year-over-year growth of something there. Let's see. Let me see if this call is starting, by the way.
It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Matt Ramsey, VP Financial Strategy.
Can you guys hear that? You should be able to hear the earnings call.
You may begin.
Thank you, and welcome to AMD's third quarter 2025 financial results conference call. By now, you should have had the opportunity to review a copy of our earnings press release and the accompanying slides. If you have not had the opportunity to review these materials, they can be found on the investor relations page of AMD.com. We will refer primarily to non-GAAP financial measures during today's call. The full non-GAAP to GAAP reconciliations are available in today's press release and the slides posted on our website. Participants in today's conference call are Dr. Lisa Su, our Chair and CEO, and Jean Hu, our Executive Vice President, CFO, and Treasurer. This is a live call and will be replayed via webcast on our website. Before we begin the call, I would like to note that Dr. Lisa Su, along with members of AMD's executive team, will present our long-term financial strategy at our Financial Analyst Day next Tuesday, November 11th in New York. Dr. Lisa Su will present at the UBS Global Technology and AI Conference on Wednesday, December 3rd. And finally, Jean Hu will present at the 23rd Annual Barclays Global Technology Conference on Wednesday, December 10th. Today's discussion contains forward-looking statements based on our current beliefs, assumptions, and expectations, speak only as of today, and as such involve risks and uncertainties that could cause results to differ materially from our current expectations. Please refer to the cautionary statement in our press release for more information on these factors that could cause actual results to differ materially. And with that, I will hand the call over to Lisa.
Thank you, Matt, and good afternoon to all those listening today. We delivered an outstanding quarter with record revenue and profitability, reflecting broad-based demand across our data center AI, server, and PC businesses. Revenue grew 36% year over year to $9.2 billion. Net income rose 31%, and free cash flow more than tripled, led by record EPYC, Ryzen, and Instinct processor sales. Our record third quarter performance marks a clear step up in our growth trajectory, as the combination of our expanding compute franchise and rapidly scaling data center AI business drives significant revenue and earnings growth. Turning to our segments, data center segment revenue increased 22% year over year to a record $4.3 billion, led by the ramp of our Instinct MI350 series GPUs and server share gains. Server CPU revenue reached an all-time high as adoption of 5th-gen EPYC Turin processors accelerated rapidly, accounting for nearly half of overall EPYC revenue in the quarter. Sales of our prior generation EPYC processors were also very robust in the quarter, reflecting their strong competitive positioning across a wide range of workloads. In cloud, we had record sales as hyperscalers expanded EPYC CPU deployments to power both their own first-party services and public cloud offerings. Hyperscalers launched more than 160 EPYC-powered instances in the quarter, including new Turin offerings from Google, Microsoft Azure, Alibaba, and others that deliver unmatched performance and price performance across a wide range of workloads. There are now more than 1,350 public EPYC cloud instances available globally, a nearly 50% increase from a year ago. Adoption of EPYC in the cloud by large businesses more than tripled year over year, as our on-prem share gains are driving increased demand from enterprise customers for AMD cloud instances to support hybrid compute. We expect cloud demand to remain very strong as hyperscalers are significantly increasing their general-purpose compute capacity as they scale their AI workloads. Many customers are now planning substantially larger CPU build-outs over the coming quarters to support increased demands from AI, serving as a powerful new catalyst for our server business. Turning to enterprise adoption, EPYC server sell-through increased sharply year over year and sequentially, reflecting accelerating enterprise adoption. More than 170 fifth-gen EPYC platforms are in market from HPE, Dell, Lenovo, Supermicro, and others, our broadest portfolio to date, with solutions optimized for virtually every enterprise workload. We closed large new wins in the quarter with leading Fortune 500 technology, telecom, financial services, retail, streaming, social, and automotive companies as we expand our footprint across major verticals. The performance and TCO advantages of our EPYC portfolio, combined with our increased go-to-market investments and the expanded breadth of offerings from the leading server and solutions providers, position us well for continued enterprise share gains. Looking ahead, we remain on track to launch our next-generation 2-nanometer Venice processors in 2026. Venice Silicon is in the labs and performing very well, delivering substantial gains in performance, efficiency, and compute density. Customer pull and engagement for Venice are the strongest we have seen, reflecting our competitive positioning and the growing demand for more data center compute. Multiple cloud OEM partners have already brought their first Venice platforms online, setting the stage for broad solution availability and cloud deployments at launch. Turning to data center AI, our Instinct GPU business continues to accelerate. Revenue grew year over year, driven by the sharp ramp of MI350 series GPU sales and broader MI300 series deployments. Multiple MI350 series deployments are underway with large cloud and AI providers, with additional large-scale rollouts on track to ramp over the coming quarters. Oracle became the first hyperscaler to publicly offer MI355X instances, delivering significantly higher performance for real-time inference and multimodal training workloads on OCI's Zettascale supercluster. NeoCloud providers Crusoe, DigitalOcean, TensorWave, Vultr, and others also began ramping availability of their MI350 series public cloud offerings in the quarter. MI300 series GPU deployments with AI developers also broadened in the quarter. IBM and Zyphra will train multiple generations of future multimodal models on a large-scale MI300X cluster, and Cohere is now using MI300X at OCI to train its Command family of models. For inference, a number of new partners, including Character AI and Luma AI, are now running production workloads on MI300 series, demonstrating the performance and TCO advantages of our architecture for real-time AI applications. We also made significant progress on the software front in the quarter. We launched ROCm 7, our most advanced and feature-rich release to date, delivering up to 4.6x higher inference and 3x higher training performance compared to ROCm 6. ROCm 7 also introduces seamless distributed inference, enhanced code portability across hardware, and new enterprise tools that simplify the deployment and management of Instinct solutions. Importantly, our open software strategy is resonating with developers. Hugging Face, VLM, SGLang, and others contributed directly to ROCm 7 as we make ROCm the open platform for AI development at scale. Looking ahead, our data center AI business is entering its next phase of growth, with customer momentum building rapidly ahead of the launch of our next-gen MI400 series accelerators and Helios rack scale solutions in 2026. The MI400 series combines a new compute engine with industry-leading memory capacity and advanced networking capabilities to deliver a major leap in performance for the most demanding AI training and inference workloads. The MI400 series brings together our silicon, software, and systems expertise to power Helios, our rack-scale AI platform designed to redefine performance and efficiency at data center scale. Helios integrates our Instinct MI400 series GPUs, Venice EPYC CPUs, and Pensando NICs in a double-wide rack solution optimized for the performance, power, cooling, and serviceability required for the next generation of AI infrastructure, and supports Meta's new Open Rack Wide standard. Development of both our MI400 series GPUs and Helios rack is progressing rapidly, supported by deep technical engagements across a growing set of hyperscalers, AI companies, and OEM and ODM partners to enable large-scale deployments next year. The ZT Systems team we acquired last year is playing a critical role in Helios development, leveraging their decades of experience building infrastructure for the world's largest cloud providers to ensure customers can deploy and scale Helios quickly within their environments. In addition, last week we completed the sale of the ZT manufacturing business to Sanmina and entered a strategic partnership that makes them our lead manufacturing partner for Helios. This collaboration will accelerate large customer deployments of our rack-scale AI solutions. On the customer front, we announced a comprehensive multi-year agreement with OpenAI to deploy 6 gigawatts of Instinct GPUs, with the first gigawatt of MI450 series accelerators scheduled to start coming online in the second half of 2026. The partnership establishes AMD as a core compute provider for OpenAI and underscores the strength of our hardware, software, and full-stack solutions strategy. Moving forward, AMD and OpenAI will work even more closely on future hardware, software, networking, and system-level roadmaps and technologies. OpenAI's decision to use AMD Instinct platforms for its most sophisticated and complex AI workloads sends a clear signal that our Instinct GPUs and ROCm open software stack deliver the performance and TCO required for the most demanding deployments. We expect this partnership will significantly accelerate our data center AI business, with the potential to generate well over $100 billion in revenue over the next few years. Oracle announced they will also be a lead launch partner for the MI450 series, deploying tens of thousands of MI450 GPUs across Oracle Cloud infrastructure beginning in 2026 and expanding through 2027 and beyond. Our Instinct platforms are also gaining traction with sovereign AI and national supercomputing programs. In the UAE, Cisco and G42 will deploy a large-scale AI cluster powered by Instinct MI350X GPUs to support the nation's most advanced AI workloads. In the U.S., we are partnering with the Department of Energy and Oak Ridge National Labs to build Lux AI, the first AI factory dedicated to scientific discovery, together with our industrial partners OCI and HPE. Powered by our Instinct MI350 series GPUs, EPYC CPUs, and Pensando networking, Lux AI will provide a secure, open platform for large-scale training and distributed inference when it comes online in early 2026. The U.S. Department of Energy also selected our upcoming MI430X GPUs and EPYC Venice CPUs to power Discovery, the next flagship supercomputer at Oak Ridge, designed to set the standard for AI-driven scientific computing and extend U.S. high-performance computing leadership. Our MI430X GPUs are designed specifically to power nation-scale AI and supercomputing programs extending our leadership powering the world's most powerful computers to enable the next generation of scientific breakthroughs. In summary, our AI business is entering a new phase of growth and is on a clear trajectory towards tens of billions in annual revenue in 2027, driven by our leadership rack-scale solutions, expanding customer adoption, and an increasing number of large-scale global deployments. I look forward to providing more details on our data center AI growth plans at our Financial Analyst Day next week. In client and gaming, segment revenue increased 73% year over year to $4 billion. Our PC processor business is performing exceptionally well, with record quarterly sales as the strong demand environment and breadth of our leadership Ryzen portfolio accelerates growth. Desktop CPU sales reached an all-time high, with record channel sell-in and sell-out led by robust demand for our Ryzen 9000 processors, which deliver unmatched performance across gaming, productivity, and content creation applications. OEM sell-through of Ryzen-powered notebooks also increased sharply in the quarter, reflecting sustained end customer pull for premium gaming and commercial AMD PCs. Commercial momentum accelerated in the quarter, with Ryzen PC sell-through up more than 30% year over year, as enterprise adoption grew sharply, driven by large wins with Fortune 500 companies across healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, automotive, and pharmaceuticals. Looking ahead, we see significant opportunity to continue growing our client business faster than the overall PC market, based on the strength of our Ryzen portfolio, broader platform coverage, and expanded go-to-market investments. In gaming, revenue increased 181% year over year to $1.3 billion. Semi-custom revenue increased as Sony and Microsoft prepare for the upcoming holiday sales period. In gaming graphics, revenue and channel sellout grew significantly, driven by the performance per dollar leadership of our Radeon 9000 family. FSR4, our machine learning upscaling technology that boosts frame rates and creates more immersive visuals, saw rapid adoption this quarter, with the number of supported games doubling since launch to more than 85. Turning to our embedded segment, revenue decreased 8% year over year to $857 million. Sequentially, revenue and sell-through increased as the demand environment strengthened across multiple markets, led by test and emulation, aerospace and defense, and industrial vision and healthcare. We expanded our embedded product portfolio with new solutions that extend our leadership across adaptive and x86 computing. We began shipping industry-leading Versal Prime Series Gen 2 adaptive SoCs to lead customers, delivered our first Versal RF development platforms to support several next-generation design wins, and introduced the Ryzen Embedded 9000 series with industry-leading performance per watt and latency for robotics, edge computing, and smart factory applications. The design momentum remains very strong across our embedded portfolio. We are on track for a second straight year of record design wins, already totaling more than $14 billion year to date, reflecting the growing adoption of our leadership products across a broad range of markets and expanding set of applications. In summary, our record third quarter results and strong fourth quarter outlook reflect the significant momentum building across our business, driven by sustained product leadership and disciplined execution. Our data center AI, server, and PC businesses are each entering periods of strong growth, led by an expanding TAM, accelerating adoption of our Instinct platforms, and EPYC and Ryzen CPU share gains. The demand for compute has never been greater, as every major breakthrough in business, science, and society now relies on access to more powerful, efficient, and intelligent computing. These trends are driving unprecedented growth opportunities for AMD. I look forward to sharing more on our strategy, roadmaps, and long-range financial targets at our financial analyst meeting next week. Now I'll turn the call over to Jean to provide additional color on our third quarter results. Jean?
Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll start with a review of our financial results and then provide our outlook for the fourth quarter of fiscal 2025. We're pleased with our strong third quarter financial results. We delivered a record revenue of $9.2 billion, up 36% year-over-year, exceeding the high end of our guidance, reflecting strong momentum across our business. Our third quarter results do not include any revenue from shipments of the MI308 GPU products to China. Revenue increased 20% sequentially, driven by strong growth in the data center and the client and gaming segment, and modest growth in the embedded segment. Gross margin was 54%, up 40 basis points year-over-year, primarily driven by product mix. Operating expenses were approximately $2.8 billion, an increase of 42% year-over-year as we continue to invest aggressively in R&D to capitalize on significant AI opportunities and go-to-market activities for revenue growth. Operating income was $2.2 billion, representing a 24% operating margin. Taxes, interest expense, and other totaled $273 million. For the third quarter of 2025, diluted earnings per share were $1.20 compared to 92 cents a year ago, an increase of 30% year-over-year. Now turning to our reportable segments, starting with the data center. Data center segment revenue was a record of $4.3 billion, up 22% year-over-year, primarily driven by the strong demand for fifth-generation EPYC processors and Instinct MI350 series GPUs. On a sequential basis, data center revenue increased 34%, primarily driven by strong ramp of our AMD Instinct MI350 series GPUs. The data center segment operating income was $1.1 billion, or 25% of revenue, compared to $1 billion a year ago, or 29% of revenue, driven by higher revenue, partially offset by higher R&D investment to capitalize on significant AI opportunities. Client and gaming segment revenue was a record of $4 billion, up 73% year-over-year and 12% sequentially, driven by strong demand for the latest generation of client and graphic processors and stronger sales of console gaming products. In the client business, revenue was a record $2.8 billion, up 46% year-over-year and 10% sequentially, driven by record sales of our Ryzen processors and a richer product mix. Gaming revenue rose to $1.3 billion, up 181% year-over-year and 16% sequentially, reflecting higher semi-customer revenue and strong demand for our Radeon GPUs. Client and gaming segment operating income was $867 million, or 21% of revenue, compared to $288 million, or 12% a year ago, driven by higher revenue, partially offset by increase in go-to-market investment to support our revenue growth. Embedded segment revenue was $857 million, down 8% year-over-year. Embedded was up 4% sequentially as we saw certain end market demand strengthen. Embedded segment operating income was $283 million, or 33% of revenue, compared to $372 million, or 40% a year ago. The decline in operating income was primarily due to lower revenue and end market mix. Before I review the balance sheet and the cash flow, as a reminder, we closed the sale of ZT System manufacturing business to Sanmina last week. The third quarter financial results of the ZT manufacturing business are reported separately in our financial statements as discontinued operations, and are excluded from our non-GAAP financials. Turning to the balance sheet and the cash flow, during the quarter, we generated $1.8 billion in cash from operating activities of continuing operations, and the free cash flow was a record of $1.5 billion. We returned $89 million to shareholders through share repurchases, resulting in $1.3 billion in share repurchases for the first 3 quarters of 2025. Exiting the quarter, we have $9.4 billion authorization remaining under our share repurchase program. At the end of the quarter, cash equivalent, and short-term investment was $7.2 billion, Our total debt was $3.2 billion. Now turning to our fourth quarter 2025 outlook. Please note that our fourth quarter outlook does not include any revenue from AMD Instinct MI308 shipment to China. For the fourth quarter of 2025, we expect revenue to be approximately $9.6 billion, plus or minus $300 million. The midpoint of our guidance represents approximately 25% year-over-year revenue growth, driven by strong double-digit growth in our data center and client and gaming segment, and a return to growth in our embedded segment. Sequentially, we expect revenue to grow by approximately 4%, driven by double-digit growth in the data center segment with a strong growth in server and continued ramp of our MI350 series GPUs. A decline in our client and gaming segment, with client revenue increasing and gaming revenue down strong double digits, and a double-digit growth in our embedded segment. In addition, we expect fourth quarter non-GAAP gross margin to be approximately 54.5%, and we expect non-GAAP operating expenses to be approximately $2.8 billion. We expect net interest and other expenses to be a gain of approximately $37 million. We expect our non-GAAP effective tax rate to be 13%, and diluted share count is expected to be approximately 1.65 billion shares. In closing, we executed very well, delivering record revenue for the first 3 quarters of the year. The strategic investment we are making position us well to capitalize on the expanding AI opportunities across all our end markets, driving sustainable long-term revenue growth and earnings expansion for compelling shareholder value creation. With that, I'll turn it back to Matt for the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Jean. John, we can go ahead and poll the audience for questions now. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now be conducting a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. A confirmation tone will indicate that your line is in the queue. You may press star 2 to remove yourself from the queue. For participants using speaker equipment, it may be necessary to pick up your handset before pressing the star keys. We ask that you please limit yourself to 1 question and 1 follow-up. Thank you. One moment while we poll for questions. And the first question comes from the line of Vivek Arya with Bank of America Securities. Please proceed with your question.
Thank you for the question. I had a near-term and a medium-term question. For the near-term, Lisa, I was hoping if you could give us some sense of the CPU, GPU mix in Q3 and Q4, and just tactically, how are you managing this transition from your MI355 towards MI400 in second half of next year? Can you continue to grow in the first half of next year from these Q4 levels, or should we expect some kind of pause or digestion before customers get on board the MI400 series?
Sure, Vivek. Thanks for the question. So a couple of comments. We had a very strong Q3 for the data center business. I think we saw strong outperformance in both the server as well as the data center AI business. And a reminder that was without any MI308 sales. The MI355 has ramped really nicely. We expected a sharp ramp into the third quarter, and that proceeded well. And as I mentioned, we've also seen some strengthening of the server CPU sales, and not just, let's call it near term, but we're seeing our customers are giving us some visibility in the next few quarters that they see elevated demand, which is positive. Going into the fourth quarter, again, strong data center performance, up double digits sequentially, and up in both server and data center AI, again on the strength of those businesses. And to your question, I mean, we're not guiding into 2026 yet, obviously, but given what we see today, we see a very good demand environment into 2026. So we would expect that MI355 continue to ramp in the first half of 26, and then we mentioned, MI450 series comes online in the second half of 2026, and we would expect a sharper ramp as we go into the second half of 2026 of our data center AI business.
Got it. And for my follow-up, there is some industry debate, Lisa, about OpenAI's ability to kind of simultaneously engage with all three merchant and the ASIC suppliers, just given the constraints around power and capex and their existing kind of CSP partners and so forth. So how are you thinking about that? Like, what is your level of visibility in the initial engagement, and then more importantly, how it kind of broadens out into 27? Is there a way that one can model what the allocation would be, or just how should we think about the level of visibility in this very important customer? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, Vivek. Look, we're very obviously very excited about our relationship with OpenAI. It's a very significant relationship. Think about it as it's a pretty unique time for AI right now. There's just so much compute demand across all of the workloads. I think in our work with OpenAI, we are planning multiple quarters out, ensuring that the power is available, that the supply chain is available. The key point is the first gigawatt we will start deploying in the second half of 26, and that work is well underway. And we continue, just given where lead times are and things like that, we are planning very closely with OpenAI as well as the CSP partners to ensure that we're all prepared with Helios so that we can deploy the technology as we stated. So I think overall we're working very closely together. I think we have good visibility into the MI450 ramp, and things are progressing very well.
And the next question comes from the line of Thomas O'Malley with Barclays. Please proceed with your question.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my question, and congrats on the good results. I had a first question on Helios. Obviously, with the announcement at OCP, customer interaction has to be growing. Could you talk about into next year what your view is on discrete sales versus system sales? When do you see that crossover kind of happening, and just what initial responses have been from customers after getting a better look at it at the show?
Yeah, sure, Tom. Thanks for the question. There's a lot of excitement around MI450 and Helios. I think the OCP reception was phenomenal. We had numerous customers and frankly bringing their engineering teams to understand more about the system, more about how it's built. There's always been some discussion about just how complex these rack scale systems are, and they certainly are. And we are very proud of the Helios design. I think it has all of the features, functions, reliability, performance, power performance that you would expect. I think the interest in MI450 and Helios has just expanded over the last number of weeks, certainly with some of the announcements that we've made with OpenAI and OCI, as well as the OCP show with Meta. I think overall, from our perspective, I think things are going really well in both the development as well as the customer engagements there. So in terms of rack scale solutions, we would expect that the early customers for MI450 will really be around the rack scale solutions. We will have other form factors as well for the MI450 series, but there's a lot of interest in the full rack scale solution.
Super helpful. And then as my follow-up, it's a broader question as well, and similar to kind of what Vivek asked. But if you look at the power requirements that are out there for some of the early announcements into next year, they're pretty substantial. And then you also have component issues that you're seeing across interconnected memory. Just from your perspective as an industry leader, where do you think that the constraint will be? Will it come first with components not being available, or do you think that both data center footprint in terms of infrastructure and or power is the gating factor to some of these deployments into next year, just as we really see some larger numbers start to get deployed? Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Tom. I think what you're pointing out is what we as an industry have to do, together. The entire ecosystem has to plan together, and that is exactly what we're doing. So we're working with our customers on their power plans, over the next, actually, I would say 2 years, from a silicon and a memory and a packaging and a component supply chain. We're working with our supply chain partners to make sure all of that capacity is available. I can tell you from our visibility, we feel very good that we have a strong supply chain that is prepared to deliver sort of these very significant growth rates and large amount of compute that is out there. And I think all of this is going to be tight. I think there is you can see from some of the CapEx spending that there's a desire to put on more compute, and we're working closely together. I will say that the ecosystem is very, I would say, works very hard when there are these types of let's call it tightness out there. And so we also see things open up as that we're working, getting more power, getting more supply, all of those things. So the net is, I think we are well positioned to grow significantly as we transition into the second half of 26 into 27 with the MI450 and Helios.
And the next question comes from the line of Joshua Buchalter with TD Cowen. Please proceed with your question.
Hey guys, thank you for taking my question. Actually wanted to start on the CPU side. So, you and your largest competitor in that space have talked about near-term strength supporting AI workloads on general-purpose servers from agentic. Maybe you could speak to the sustainability of these trends, and they called out supply constraints. Are you seeing any of those in your supply chain? And are we in a period where we should think about the CPU business on the data center side as being aseasonal, or should we expect normal seasonality in the first half of next year? Thank you.
Sure, Josh. So, a couple of comments on the CPU server side. I think we've been watching this trend for the last couple of quarters, and we started seeing, let's call it, some positive signs in CPU demand actually a couple quarters ago. And what's happened as we've gone through 2025 is now we see sort of a broadening of that CPU demand. So we have a number of our large hyperscale clients are now forecasting significant CPU builds into 2026. And so from that standpoint, I think it's a positive demand environment. And it is because AI is requiring quite a bit of general purpose compute, and that's great. It catches our cycle as we're ramping Turin. So the Turin ramp has gone extremely fast, and we see good pull for that product, as well as consistent strong demand for our Genoa product line as well. So back to seasonality as we go into 2026. I think we expect that the CPU demand environment into 2026 is going to be, let's call it, positive. And so from we'll guide more as we get into the end of the year, but I would expect a positive demand environment for CPUs as we see this demand. I do feel like it's durable. It is not a short-term thing. I think it is a multi-quarter phenomenon as we're seeing just much more demand as these AI workloads really turn into have to do real work.
So, Josh, on the supply side, we have supplies to support our growth, and especially in 2026, we're prepared for the ramp.
Got it. Thank you both. And for my follow-up, Lisa, in your prepared remarks, you highlighted progress you guys have made on ROCm 7. I know this has been an area of focus, and can you maybe spend a minute or two talking about where you feel you're at competitively with ROCm? How wide is the breadth of support you're able to offer to the developer community? And what areas you still have work to do to close any potential competitive gap? Thank you.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for the question. Look, we've made great progress with ROCm. ROCm 7 is a significant step forward in terms of performance and sort of all the frameworks that we support. It's been really, really important for us to get sort of day zero support of all the newest models and native support for all the newest frameworks. I would say most customers who are starting with AMD now have a very very smooth experience as they're bringing on their workloads to AMD. There's obviously always more work to do. We're continuing to augment the libraries and the overall environment that we have, especially as we go to some of the newer workloads where you see training and inference really coming together. with reinforcement learning. But overall, I think very strong progress with ROCm. And by the way, we're going to continue to invest, in this area because it's so important to really make our customer development experience as smooth as we can.
And the next question comes from the line of C.J. Muse with Cantor Fitzgerald. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for taking the question. I guess first question, as you think about the 355 to 400 transition and moving to full rack scale, is there a framework that we should be thinking about for gross margins throughout calendar 26?
Yes, CJ, thanks for the question. I think in general, as we said in the past, for our data center GPU business, the gross margin continue to improve when we ramp a new generation of product. Typically, at the beginning of the ramp, you go through a transition period, then you will normalize the gross margin. We're not guiding 2026, but our priority in data center GPU business is to really expand the top line revenue growth and the gross margin dollars. And of course, at the same time, we'll continue to drive the gross margin percentage up too.
Very helpful. And I guess maybe Lisa to kind of probe kind of your growth expectations through 26 and beyond. And you talked about tens of billions of dollars in 27. Can you kind of speak at a high level how you're thinking about OpenAI and other large customers and, how we should be thinking about the breadth of your customer kind of penetration throughout calendar 26, 27? Any help on that would be super. Thank you.
Sure, CJ. And, we'll certainly address this topic in more detail at our Analyst Day next week. But let me give you some maybe higher level points. Look, I think we're really excited about our roadmap. I think we have seen great traction amongst the largest customers. The OpenAI relationship is extremely important to us. And, it's great to be able to talk at the multi-gigawatt scale because I think that really is what we believe we can deliver to the marketplace. But there are numerous other customers that we're in deep engagements with. We talked about OCI. We also announced a couple of systems with the Department of Energy that are significant systems, and we have many other engagements. So the way you should think about it is there are multiple customers that we would expect to have, let's call it, very significant scale in the MI 450 generation, and that's sort of the breadth of the customer engagements that we've built, and it's also how we're dimensioning the supply chain to ensure that we can supply certainly our OpenAI partnership as well as the numerous other partnerships that are well underway.
And the next question comes from the line of Stacy Rasgon with Bernstein Research. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking my questions. My first one, for data center in the quarter, what grew more year over year on a dollar and a percentage basis, the servers or the GPUs?
So I think, Stacy, I think our commentary was data center, grew nicely year over year in both of the areas, both for servers as well as data center AI.
Yeah, but could you, just directionally, which one grew more than the other? I'm not even asking for numbers, just directionally.
Directionally, they are similar, but server is a little bit better.
Server's a little bit better. Okay. And then on the guidance, you said that servers, data center overall up double digits. You said servers up strong double digits. What does that mean? Is that like more than 20%, or like how do I think about what you mean by strong double digits? Because again, I'm trying to for the GPUs for the year, do you think you were saying roughly like $6.5 billion or something last quarter for the year. Do you think it's still in that range? It kind of feels like they're still there.
Stacy, here's what we guided. We guided sequentially data center will be up double digits, and we said server will go up strongly, and at the same time, we also said that MI350 also going to ramp. So we did not. I don't think what you just mentioned was what we guided.
Oh, okay. So I mean, if you say servers are up strongly, does that mean they're up more than the Instinct? Because you didn't really make that commentary on Instinct.
No, look, Stacy, let me say it. So data center up sequentially, double-digit percentage. Both server and data center AI are going to be up as well. And from the standpoint of where they are, I think we're pleased with how both of them are performing. The strong double-digit percentage comment perhaps was applying to the year-over-year commentary.
Thank you. And the next question comes from the line of Timothy Arcuri with UBS. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks a lot. Lisa, I know it's only been a month since you announced this deal with OpenAI, but can you give us maybe some anecdotes of how this has influenced your position in the market with other customers? Like, are you engaged with customers that you wouldn't have been engaged with if you hadn't done this deal? That's the first part of the question. And then the second part relates to a prior question, which is that it looks like they could be something like half of your data center GPU revenue in the 2027, 2028 timeframe. So how much risk in your mind is there around that single customer for you?
Sure, Tim. So let me say a couple things. First of all, the OpenAI deal has been in the works for quite some time. We're happy to be able to talk about it broadly and also talk about the scale of the deployment and the scale of the engagement being multi-year, multi-gigawatt. I think all those things were very positive. We've had a number of other engagements as well. I think over the last, if you were asked to ask specifically over the last month, I would say that it's been a number of factors. I think the OpenAI deal was one of them. I think being able to show the Helios rack in full force at Open Compute was also a very important milestone because people could see the engineering and sort of the capabilities of the Helios rack. And if you're asking whether we've seen a increase of interest or an acceleration of interest, I think the answer is yes. I think customers are broadly engaged and perhaps broadly engaged at a higher scale, which is a good thing. And then from the standpoint of customer concentration, I think a very key foundation for us in this business is to have a broad set of customers. We've always been engaged with a number of customers. I think we're dimensioning the supply chain in such a way that we would have ample supply to have multiple customers at similar scale as we go into the 27-28 timeframe, and that's certainly the goal.
Thank you. And the next question comes from the line of Aaron Rakers with Wells Fargo. Please proceed with your question.
Yeah, thanks for taking the questions. I'm curious on the server strength that you're seeing, if there's a way to unpack how we think about unit growth versus ASP expansion as we move through the Turin product cycle, and how do you guys just kind of think about that going forward?
Yeah, so Aaron, on the server CPU side, Turin certainly is more content, so we see ASPs grow as Turin ramps. But I also mentioned in the prepared remarks that we're actually seeing a good mix of Genoa still there. So Turin is ramping very quickly, but we are also seeing Genoa demand continue well as the hyperscalers are not able to move everything to the latest generation immediately. So from our standpoint, I think it's broad-based CPU demand across a number of different workloads. This is, a little bit of this is, let's call it server refresh, but it seems like, from our, customer conversations, the workloads are, broadly due to, the fact that, AI workloads are spawning more traditional compute, so, more build-out is necessary. I think going forward, one of the things that we see is there is more of a desire for the latest generation. And so, as much as we're happy with how Turin is ramping, we're seeing actually a strong pull on Venice and a lot of early engagement in Venice, which kind of, says a lot about, kind of the importance of general purpose compute, at this point in time.
Yeah, thanks. As a quick follow-up, I'm curious, and not to steal maybe the discussion from next week, but Lisa, you've been very consistent, like, $500 billion of total AI silicon TAM opportunity and obviously progressing above that. I'm curious, as we think about these large, megawatt kind of deployments, how you think about, the updated views on that AI silicon TAM as we look forward?
Well, Aaron, as you said, not to take too much away from what we're going to talk about next week. Look, we're going to give you a full picture of how we see the market next week. But suffice it to say, from everything that we see the AI compute TAM just going up. So, we'll have some updated numbers for you. But the view is, whereas 500 billion sounded like a lot when we first talked about it, we think there is a larger opportunity, for us over the next few years, and that's pretty exciting.
Thank you. The next question comes from Antoine Chkaiban with New Street Research. Please proceed with your question.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question. So I'd like to ask about whether the developing relationship with OpenAI could be a tailwind to the development of your software stack. Can you maybe tell us about how the collaboration works in practice and whether the partnership contributed in making ROCm more robust?
Yeah, Antoine, thanks for the question. I think the answer is yes. I think all of our large customers contribute to let's call it a broadening and deepening of our software stack overall. I think the relationship with OpenAI is certainly one where our plans are to work deeply together on hardware as well as software as well as systems and future roadmap. And from that standpoint, the work that we're doing together with them on Triton is certainly very valuable. But I will say beyond OpenAI, the work that we do with all of our largest customers are super helpful to strengthening the software stack. And we have put significant new resources into not just the largest customers, but we are working with a broad set of AI native companies who are actively developing on the ROCm stack. We get lots of feedback. I think we've made significant progress in the training and inference stack, and we're going to continue to double down and triple down in this area. So more customers that use AMD, I think all of that goes to enhancing the ROCm stack. And we're actually we'll talk a little bit more about this next week, but we're also using AI to help us accelerate the rate and pace of some of the ROCm kernel development and just the overall ecosystem.
Thanks, Lisa. Maybe as a quick follow-up, could you tell us about the useful lives of GPUs? I know that most CSPs depreciate them over 5-6 years, but in your conversations with them, I'm just wondering if you see or hear any early indication that in practice they may be planning to sweat those GPUs for longer than that.
I think we have seen some early indications of that, Antoine. I think the key point being, clearly there's a desire to get on the latest and greatest GPUs when you're building new data center infrastructure. And, certainly when we're looking at MI355s, they're often going into new liquid-cooled facilities, MI450 series as well. But then we're also seeing the other trend, which is there's just a need for more AI compute. And from that standpoint, some of the older generations, MI300X is still doing, quite well in terms of, just where we see people, deploying and using, especially for inference. And from that standpoint, I think you see a little bit of both.
And the next question comes from the line of Joe Moore with Morgan Stanley. Please proceed with your question.
Great, thank you. You mentioned MI308. I guess what's your posture there to the extent that, if there is some relief that you're able to ship, do you have readiness to do that? Can you give us a sense for how much of a swing factor that could be?
Sure, Joe. So, look, it's still a pretty dynamic situation with MI308. So that's the reason that we did not include any MI308 revenue in the Q4 guide. We have received some licenses for MI308, so we're appreciative of the administration supporting some licenses for MI308. We're still working with our customers on the demand environment and sort of what the overall opportunity is. And so, we'll be able to update that more in the next couple of months.
Okay, but you do have a product to support that market if it does open up, or are you going to have to start to kind of rebuild inventory for that?
We've had some work in process. I think, we continue to, have that work in process, but we'll have to see sort of how the demand environment shapes up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Operator, I think we might have time for just one more caller, please. Thank you very much.
No problem. And the final question comes from the line of Ross Seymour with Deutsche Bank. Please proceed with your question.
Thanks for squeezing me in. Lisa, this might take longer than the amount of time we have left before the top of the hour, but there's been so many of these multi-gigawatt announcements from OpenAI. How does AMD truly differentiate in there? When you see that big customer signing deals with other GPU vendors and ASIC vendors, et cetera, how do you attack that market differently than those competitors to not only get the 6 gigawatt initially, but hopefully more after that?
Sure, Ross. Well, look, what I see is, actually, this environment where the world needs more AI compute. And, from that standpoint, I think, OpenAI has kind of led in the quest for more AI compute, but they're not alone. I think when you look across the large customers, there is really a demand for more AI compute as you go forward over the next couple of years. I think we, each have our advantages in terms of, how we are positioning our products. I think, MI450 series in particular, I think is an extremely, strong product, rack scale solution. Overall, when we look at compute performance, when we look at memory performance, we think it's extremely well positioned for both inference as well as training. I think the key here is time to market, it's total cost of ownership, it's deep partnership, and thinking about not just MI450 series, but what happens after that. So we're deep in conversations on MI500 and beyond. And we certainly think we're well positioned to not only participate, but participate in a very meaningful way across the sort of the demand environment here. And I think we have certainly learned a ton over the last couple of years with our AI roadmap. We've made significant inroads in terms of just what the largest customer needs from a workload standpoint. So I'm pretty optimistic about our ability to capture a significant piece of this market going forward.
Great. And I guess as my follow-up, it'll be a direct follow-on to that. You did a unique structure by granting some warrants with this deal, and I know they vest according to a price that'll be very accretive and make everybody happy. Do you think that was a relatively unique agreement, or given that the world needs more processing power, that AMD is open to somewhat similar, conceptually similar, creative ways to address that demand over time with other equity vehicles, et cetera?
Sure, Ross. So I would say it was a unique agreement from the standpoint that, unique time in AI, what we wanted, what we prioritized was really deep partnership and, multi-year, multi-generation, significant scale. And I think we got that. We got a structure that has, extremely aligned incentives. Everybody wins, right? We win, OpenAI wins, and, our shareholder sort of benefits from this, and all of that accrues to the overall roadmap. I think as we look forward, I think we have a lot of very interesting partnerships that are developing, whether they're with the largest AI users, or you think about sovereign AI opportunities, and we look at each one of these as a unique opportunity where we're bringing sort of the whole of AMD, both technically as well as all the rest of our capabilities, to the party. So, I would say OpenAI was pretty unique, but I would imagine that there are lots of other opportunities for us to bring our capabilities into the ecosystem and participate in a significant way.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the question and answer session, and that also concludes today's teleconference. We thank you for your participation. You may disconnect your lines at this time.